Hi everyone, this is Nate Lindquist. Welcome to the next Power Week video, and this one is called Your Powerfully Productive Mind. There's nothing more powerful than understanding consciously what your mind is capable of, getting a better understanding of how to clean your mental slate to get more done, work on the essential, and break the too busy code for good, or for great, because right now you're jumping into a program that requires everything that you have, including your mental capacity, your ability to focus and get things done. So you've got to activate your powerfully productive mind, and that's what this video is all about. Now, a couple things you should know. Your life is about to change forever, and the only way that that's going to happen is if you completely commit to this training. That means, don't forget, have your paper out, your notepad right, have a pen handy, and every time you recognize a distinction, write it down, something that you're not familiar with or something that you remember from maybe previous learning or previous experience, but you haven't taken action on it, write it down. The second thing is, whatever inspires you, that's a sign that this is a direction for you to go, something that you know wakes you up, makes you a more powerful and capable person than you ever thought you could be. Write it down. You want to have an ongoing list in your journal and in your world of what inspires you the most. Now, the third thing to remember is to take action. You're going to get inspired. You're going to hear distinctions. And you're going to get a feeling that we all get, just like when we make a list of to-do items, right? We get this sense that we can relax, we can feel a peace of mind because what we wrote down and what we put on our list made us feel like we've already done it. But the truth is, if you haven't taken the time to actually take action, if you haven't shortened that line, the distance between an inspiration or a distinction and taking action, then you have no reason to have peace of mind yet because you haven't gotten anything done. So let's not have that fake peace of mind or that false sense of security. All right, let's change your life forever. Whatever obstacle may come your way will always become more powerful by the thoughts you give to it. In this training, you'll learn exactly how to eradicate the one obstacle and one of the top two reasons businesses fail to start, fail to succeed, and fail to serve. The first is fear. The second, well, I'll tell you in a minute, so read on. By learning to take action in a very specific way, which I'm about to teach you in this training, you will never have this obstacle hold you back or cause you to fail again. I repeat, by learning what I'm about to teach you, you don't ever have to fail again at what you're doing. I know that sounds like a lofty promise, but the truth is, when you learn what it is, when you learn what this obstacle is, you're going to get the idea that this is a specific breakthrough that everybody needs to have, and now is your chance. Now, when you gain access to your powerful mind in the way I'm about to teach you, your friends, your associates, and even total strangers will say, I want what you have. So if that's what you want to create in your life, let's get started. Okay, let's start activating your powerfully productive mind. So, the first teaching I want to give you is to ask better questions. When you ask better questions, you get better answers. And the question I want you to ask right now is, why are we always busy and we still don't get our best work done? Your mind wants to be busy. If you don't believe me, try sitting and being quiet. Then, if you're physically still, notice what your mind is doing. How can you control this? First, stop trying to. Then, start noticing. I mean, how much do you do throughout the day that you don't even notice, that you're not even aware of? Forget about what you're doing, what's going on around you. How much could you be aware of if you started to notice what you're noticing? When your senses are involved with gathering information from the world, this is always happening. But if you're not conscious of it, then you're gathering information and you're creating thoughts and you're creating distractions that you aren't aware of, and those can get in your way. Now, memes and mental associations move faster than a speeding bullet. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Memes are mind viruses, and mental associations are like daisy chains. Just like when you try to plug in 15 extension cords because you want to get to the power source, well, your mind does the same thing with thoughts. So mind viruses could be like someone saying, hey, if you touch a doorknob, you could get sick. Or they could say, the flu is going around. And let's use that one. The flu is going around. And you hear someone say that, and then you think, oh, what if I get the flu? I'm supposed to go on a trip next week. I'm supposed to bring my daughter, and if I bring my daughter, she could get sick. What if I get stuck having the flu on the trip? I don't normally bring medicine with me, but maybe I should. And in the meantime, you get yourself stressed, you get yourself worried, and this thought continues to spin in your mind, whether you're conscious of it or you're unconscious of it. Let me say that again. You have this top-of-mind awareness. You have this conscious mind that's something you're thinking about and you're conscious of right now. All right, and then you have your unconscious mind or your subconscious, where thinking is happening. Your super mainframe computer is processing all the time, whether you're paying attention to it or even aware of it or not. So when you have a meme going on in your life, it's going to create mental associations, and you're going to connect that thought to the next thought to the next thought. And usually those mental associations are caused by fear, a fear that something bad might happen to you. And when you get caught up in memes and mental associations that aren't productive and aren't empowering, you activate a part of your brain that I'm going to talk to you about in just a little bit. If you don't know it, it could kill you. Not only will it kill you, or could it kill you, but it'll definitely kill your ability to be effective in your business. So you're going to want to listen closely in just a little bit about that part of your brain and what it means to you, and then how you can use that as a launch pad to activate your powerfully productive mind. The next thing I'm going to share is that our brain is programmed to bring its focus to the areas of our life, and especially our immediate space, that are threats. So much like a meme and a mental association will take a thought and spin it into your mind, consciously or unconsciously, your brain is programmed to make you worry about the things that you think could be threats. And then what happens is we do something called trunking. The more we practice looking for and experiencing certain sensations in our life via our thinking, the more capable we are of expediting that given experience. So let me say that again. Just like a superhighway grows bigger and stronger the more cars that need to travel down it. So say there's a highway maybe near where you live, and that highway takes you down to the city. You'll notice that when you're going from the suburbs into the city, if that's where you live, and a lot of people are commuting into the city, that's one of the places where you'll see 3, 4, sometimes even 5-lane highways. And sometimes they even permit travel in the breakdown lane, because what's happening is the town government and the highway department or Department of Transportation is trunking that area of the highway to make sure that more vehicles can travel through that area and get where they need to go faster, because there's more demand on that area. Your brain operates in very much the same way. When you put more practice, more demand, more travel down a certain thought process, the neurons in your brain will continue to connect, and they'll get better at connecting. The neurons will get thicker, stronger, the chemical connections will get stronger, and then the neural connections will grow something and increase something called the myelin sheath in your brain. And little by little, you create mental superhighways that'll either bring you towards something that you want because you're practicing a good habit or a good thought, or it'll bring you towards an outcome that you don't want. That's what trunking is. So you need to be aware of it. Now, when you practice being busy, your brain practices taking you to the place in your thoughts where you constantly think you're busy. And even if you're not busy, there's a lot of reasons why you think you should be. More on that right now about why we're always busy is we practice doing what we've always done, right? We continue to do the same things every single day. So if you normally maybe you have oatmeal in the morning, and you've had oatmeal in the morning for 10 years or several years, and now if I were to ask you, what are you going to have for breakfast? You might say, well, oatmeal would be fine. The reason that you have that thought is because you had oatmeal yesterday, or because you've had it most of the time. So when you get outside the norm, it's actually more difficult to eat something different for breakfast because you've practiced having oatmeal. We practice doing what we've always done. Your drive to work, do you usually go a different way, or do you usually go the same way? You get the idea? Also, another thing that keeps us busy is staying comfortable. When staying comfortable is a priority, which it is for most people because we really want to avoid pain in our lives. I'm not recommending, by the way, that everything we do should be avoiding pain or challenges, but most of us want to stay comfortable. And when staying comfortable is a priority, we end up doing things that make us feel busy and look busy when we're not being productive. Looking busy is job security, all right? So when you're trying to cover your backside by looking busy, you're protecting your job security. That's a common mistake that people in employment, they take action on that particular thought process because, there's this idea of my manager is more concerned with me looking busy so he looks good than the fact that I may not be being totally productive, all right? Feeling in demand makes us feel significant. So if you tell someone you're not busy, maybe you're not as important. We live in a work for work's sake world. When Tim Ferriss, one of the great teachers and writers in the 4-Hour Workweek, he's got a lot of really good distinctions. One of them, he talks a lot about work for work's sake. How much are you doing every day, including checking your email, jumping on Facebook, shuffling papers, clearing your desk, making phone calls, taking phone calls, having just-a-minute meetings where you don't write down a specific action plan. That's work for work's sake, and that's what keeps you busy but might not be getting things done. The more you're aware of this, the more that I bring this information and these distinctions to your consciousness, the more you'll know you need to do something about it. Because in many cases, people are productive 3 to 4 hours a day maximum. And on many of those days, people in working America aren't productive at all. So if you're caught up in a work for work's sake environment, recognize you could be more productive working on the essential in 2 or 3 hours a day simply by focusing on what matters and not getting caught up in work for work's sake. We'll talk more about that a little bit later in this training. And also I'll tell you what the brain is trying to do to kill you and kill your productivity. And it has a lot to do with what I'm talking about already. Now, another distinction is nobody taught us how to do the right stuff, but they taught us to get to work. You know, how many times did your parents say, get to work raking the lawn? And they didn't tell you how they wanted it raked. They didn't even tell you what to do with the leaves. And they come back out and they say, well, you didn't rake out the gardens, or you didn't do this part of the lawn, or you're not digging deep enough into the soil and really helping to aerate it. Who knows what they're thinking? But the problem is they had you focusing on the wrong stuff, and then they told you to do it more efficiently. You know, our focus is on efficiency over effectiveness. That's also known as doing the wrong work faster. That's like, you know, doubling your effort when you have no target. It's like running really fast in the wrong direction, trying to get where you're not going. You get the idea? We constantly let interruptions get in the way of our focus. We let doing the wrong work get in the way of our focus. And all this re-engaging to try to find out where we're headed makes us feel busy, but it doesn't make us productive. I hope this is making sense and sinking in. I don't know, right now what your specific situation is, but I assure you, as I go through this list and teach this to you, I'm noticing some of the things that I still need to work on. We're all creatures of habit, and I know that I can improve, so I know that you can improve. Let's never be so good at being productive that we don't practice constant and never-ending improvement. All right, now here's the part about your mind. Your mindset is trying to kill you. You know, there's something that you need to do. I call the mindset reset, and the most fundamental way to do that is something that keeps you, the part of your brain that keeps you from planning, creating art, or otherwise creating your ideal life or business. It's the core reason for panic, for emergency, for thinking, and jumping on the phone really quick. Oh my God, I've got to take this call, or jumping into email. Oh my gosh, I got to check my email, every 5 minutes, or sometimes 10 times in just a few minutes, because oh my God, I've got to check this. The reason for that is called the amygdala. It's part of your brain that says there is a threat. If I don't go do what I did yesterday, if I don't exercise specific action towards resolving this fear about something that I've practiced being afraid of, something's going to hurt me. So the amygdala says, don't plan, get to work. It's better to get to work, because then maybe you'll look busy and you won't get in trouble. Or hurry up and get to work, because then you'll feel productive, and it feels awful to be non-productive. So let's do the things we know how to do. It's like the amygdala says, don't learn how to play guitar, play the one song that you've been playing for 10 years. And at least everyone will think you're good at guitar. Let's avoid some threats. Let's avoid some pain. Let's avoid some learning and some growth. The amygdala was designed so you could eat, so you could procreate, and so you could avoid danger. And it's also designed to derail your life if you decide to live that way, because you're a human being, not a human doing. You have an opportunity right now to control how you think and what's most important to you. And that's really what this powerful mind training is all about. So remember, your amygdala wants to kill your productivity because it thinks stopping and planning is dangerous. Let's relearn that stopping, planning, getting your ideas to connect to your feelings, getting your feelings to empower you and connect you specifically to the right actions, that's what's going to turn you into an effective, productive person and get you a powerful mind. So I want you to remember that if you're changing your reality, if that's your goal, to create a very exciting and rewarding and productive and effective new business and a lifestyle that you love, focus equals power. Focus equals power. And as a major component of a results-oriented mindset, using your mind to create results, focus always creates the reality that you experience, where you take action and what you feel. So you've got to get control of your focus. And changing your focus is a matter of the decision that you make. You cut yourself off from focusing on one thing that doesn't move you forward and empower you, and you shift your focus to something that does. Now, let me give you an example, a little exercise that you can do right now. What I want you to do, and I know this isn't your favorite thing to do, but I want you to think about something that's made you very, very angry. Think about a time someone took advantage of you, or something in your life that makes you angry, where you think someone took advantage of you, or manipulated you, or hurt you, or stole from you, or caused you pain. Put your focus on that right now. Just take a few seconds. What did they do to you? Why were they wrong? Where were you when it happened? Where were you? How did you feel? How were you standing? What were you wearing? Why was what they did wrong? Let's really focus on all the aspects and the environment you were in when this happened. What problems did it cause for you? All right, I know that wasn't fun to do, and I know it doesn't feel good, but can you see where you took your focus caused you pain, caused you discomfort? It created your reality in this moment, and I'm not even there with you, although I'm speaking to you in this training. I'm not sitting next to you, and certainly the pain wasn't just caused to you in this moment. It's something that happened in the past, but you've activated the power of focus to change your experience of reality by going and living in the middle of where you're focusing right now. Now, what I want you to do now is focus on something that you love and someone who loves you. Focus on something that makes you feel loved and makes you feel grateful and happy. Think about where you were when you were grateful and happy and loved. Think about why you love that person. Think about where you would go and where you would be and experiences that you've had when you're in love. Think about what it would feel like to maybe love a child and what it does feel like to love a child, love a family member, love your spouse. Maybe you really love a little pet that you've cared for and taken care of and is taking care of you. What do you feel like? How does that feel? That's changing your focus. So the feeling you're having right now is completely in your control. Focus is much like a muscle. So when you practice changing your focus and you practice over and over again asking the question, well, how do I feel right now? If you change your focus, you completely change how you feel. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. All right? Your focus is like a muscle. So start to work that muscle. And when you say, how do I feel? And you don't feel so good, the number one thing you can do is change what you're focused on. Now, if you have a little bit of difficulty doing that mentally, or you don't believe that you can't stop indulging in thoughts that hurt you, the next thing that you can do is move around. Do 10 jumping jacks, run in place for 30 seconds, and you're completely changed what you're focused on. And when you change what you're focused on, your reality will change. The brain will shift your memories and actual ability to focus by limiting it on the most immediate dangers, with very little sense of value given to the long-term dangers or the value of an action. All right, let me say that again. Your brain will shift your memories and your actual ability to focus by limiting it on the most immediate dangers. And that could be dangers of, feelings that you've had, memories that you've had, thoughts that you've had, or even looking at things in your environment. Your mind will make things dangerous if you focus on the dangers. And it has very little sense of value given to the long-term dangers or the value of an action. So it doesn't recognize, hey, if you don't plan right now, you could get hurt. Your brain actually thinks you might get hurt today if you don't just get to work. So let's use our focus moving forward in a productive and effective way where we help it to move us forward now. And we make a productive and effective steps now. And we plan ahead. We think ahead. What are the results that we want? So that today we can take action. We can plan. We can think ahead. We can even understand the steps and become powerfully effective. All right? So you understand what focus is all about. Now let's look at how can you learn to focus. Now this is a short version of this because there will be another training specifically on how to exercise and practice focus. But I don't want to spend too much time on that because right now we're talking about creating your powerfully productive mind. So learning to focus. One thing you can do is start keeping track of what you do every day and what you don't do. If you made a list, kept a journal, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to drive to work, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to listen to a training, I'm going to watch a video, I'm going to take a phone call, I'm going to take a just-a-minute meeting. If you literally logged, and I know it sounds ridiculous and cumbersome, but if you kept a notebook with you and every time you changed tasks or shifted your focus, you had a note of what you did and you look back and you said, geez, I didn't have a productive day, you would know exactly why. So recognizing the consequences of those distractions, recognizing what is happening during your day, while you're working, while you're playing. What are you doing when you're playing with your kids? You're hanging out with your spouse. Are you focused on them? Are you present? Or are you checking your phone? Are you playing on your cell phone or checking messages or looking at text or jumping on social media? The next thing you want to do is, once you've journaled all that, make a list of all your distractions. Ideally, what you want to do is track those things that you're doing during a regular life experience for the period of about a week. Then list all those distractions, because some of them are going to happen again and again, day to day. Those little distractions become patterns. They become habits that can limit your effectiveness in life and in business. Now, you want to recognize the costs of those distractions. So maybe some of them are welcome distractions. Someone pops by your office and says hi, and it's good to see a friend you haven't talked to for a while. But there's costs there because you were focused on something else. And when you jumped up and you decided, hey, you know what, maybe 10 times today I'm going to allow someone to talk to me from my doorway, or I'm going to allow myself to take a call when I'm working on something else, that's keeping me from being productive and from being effective. And I want to be productive and effective. So you've got to recognize that might be costing you money. Being on your smartphone and being distracted in that way and not focusing on your spouse or on your loved ones, even on your kids, that might damage the relationship over time, won't it? So as you think about that and you recognize the cost of your distractions, choose what your one focus will be in work and what your most important focus will be in life, and maybe chunk that out. Say, okay, this is my big personal focus, this is my big business focus, and I'm going to commit to focusing relentlessly on these two things for the next 30 days. And then what you can do is you can start to activate what I call productive pull. When you make that personal focus your number one priority, what you can do is create supportive rituals. So take out a pen right now and write down, I am going to create supportive rituals in my personal life. The 5 or 10 things you can do to support that big project and that big goal. That's called productive pull, because when you do something, say for 5 or 10 minutes every single day to support one big goal, you're automatically going to be inspired and pulled towards creating the result that you want in that big project. You can do it in business as well. All right? And so as you establish those rituals, you're going to create huge progress. Now, again, I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, but I really want to hit a message home that focus is critical. Just like a laser, if you shoot a laser at a piece of metal, you can cut a piece of metal, with a big banging noise and all that focused energy, you can cut a piece of metal in half a second. You can take that same laser and you can put it through a prism and diffuse it, or refract that laser light into a bunch of different separate streams of light, and you can read by it safely with the same amount of power behind it. A laser is not dangerous when it's diffused. It's dangerous when it's focused, and so is your ability to be effective. You're a dangerous powerhouse when you put all the focus of your mind, your mental, productive mind power, on your goal in a very productive and focused way. Right? You get an awful lot of great results when you understand how to do that. Now, another thing you want to learn is how to say no. Simply just learn to say no to anything that isn't your number one priority. So if you're starting a program right now, like this one, decide that everything else is secondary. And you can have a big goal in your personal life as well, but understand the two need to come together where you're inspired, you're an excited person to really be effective. So support your family, support your big business goal, let the two come together where the best version of you shows up. And say no to anything that doesn't bring you towards that. Ask the question, this person's asking me to get on the board of directors for something. This person's got a great training opportunity. This person's inviting me to go to dinner. Does this bring me towards my goal, my personal goal and my business goal? And then you can become a minimalist. By doing less, by saying no, you can do better with less. Find out what your essential work is and only work on that. Now, there's going to be more on this soon, but let's really focus on your mind power, all right? And we want to remove one huge cause of failure in life and business. Are you ready to do it? Are you ready to get started on eliminating that one big cause of failure? There's one more lesson I'm going to teach you before I share with you exactly what that is. I know you're really excited to find out what it is. I'll tell you, once I learned it and I started activating it, it completely changed my life. But I'm going to take you through simple steps. We'll get going on that in just one more minute. All right, let's look at bottom-up versus top-down thinking, and then we'll jump into that big challenge that derails life and business so easily if you don't know what I'm about to teach you. First, let's look at bottom-up. The habit of getting it done. So if you're getting something done, if you're getting more productive, well, it depends very much on the it. What is it that you're trying to get done? And fundamentally, with practice of a simple system, we become capable of doing more in less time without having to think through the steps. So think about driving a stick shift. When you really know how to drive a stick shift, you can just jump in the car and you can drive. You don't have to think through, oh, I've got to get in the seat. Oh, I better put my foot on the clutch. Oh, where's the gas? Oh, I better do a little less clutch, a little more. If you went through that process and you were in an emergency, you'd be in real trouble. When you know how to drive a stick shift, you just jump in and you do it. If you're looking at running over hurdles, have you ever seen someone who's never done hurdles before? They're getting ready to do the 400 hurdles, and they take off, and they get to each hurdle, and you can see them thinking about, oh my gosh, I better stutter step. I don't know how I'm going to get over this. And you see the people who run over the hurdles like they're not even there, because they've got a bottom-up thinking process. It's like, for me, as I started becoming a cartoonist, I had to think through, how do I draw a cartoon? And in time, I learned how to draw caricatures and other illustrations early in my career and in my life, because I practiced it over and over again. It became a very bottom-up experience. It was just automatic. It was part of my foundational being. It's who I am. Now, there's another way to think about things and a way to get tasks done, and that's called top-down. And think of top-down as it takes my head to get my body to move, all right? So think about if you're driving in your car and you're overthinking the idea of, I better look in all my mirrors, I better be hyper aware of all the cars around me, I better be overly paranoid, I've got to check everywhere, I don't know if I'm safe. If you don't know how to check your mirrors carefully while you're primarily focused on automatically driving a car, you're going to crash. The number of accidents are caused by people being fearful and over-aware is sensational. It's an amazingly high number. So in top-down, there are dangers of thinking things through, and there's also major benefits, especially if it's your first time driving and you're in a parking lot and you're maybe in a situation where you're learning how to drive. So when you're learning how to do anything, top-down's important. But once you have it, it's really helpful to take some of those routine applications and be able to do them automatically. Usually thinking it through happens effectively. But then it's time to move on, to automatic for that task and give the top-down energy to a new task. Driving, learning to launch a business, or creating a home budget. Any one of these things are something that you need to learn from the top down. You got to get your head involved, and then you can get your head out of it, and you can let your bottom up, automatic body just take action. Your body's going to take action. Your ability to take action becomes automatic when you get to that bottom up place. All right, you're going to use this, and you're going to need this. So you do have some learning right now, and here we go. Here is the one thing, the one obstacle that can derail and literally kill you and your business. How do you remove procrastination forever? See, getting it done later, getting anything done later is always caused by a lack of clarity. So think of it this way. If you really want something done, then you would do it. Or when the pain of not getting something done is clearly greater than the pain of getting it done, we act. If we recognize that we could have pain by not following through, we're going to move. I want you to picture yourself in a situation where you're sitting on the sofa, right? And you're watching infomercials and someone says, send me $1,000 right now and I will teach you how to make $5,000. There's programs like that all the time and people do pay for them, all right? Now what I want you to do, I want you to picture yourself sitting on that sofa and someone comes into your living room and they try to steal $1,000 from you. Are you going to fight harder to make $5,000 or to keep the $1,000 that someone's trying to pull out of your hands? When the pain of not getting something done or getting something at all is clearly greater than the pain of getting it done, we act. All right? We avoid pain and we'll work 10, sometimes 100 times harder to avoid pain than we will to seek pleasure. All right, let's move on to point number 3. Now you need to know exactly what you want and why you want it. This means that you decide what is essential and you put your focus on that alone. Most people that procrastinate, if you ask them, well, what is it exactly that you're trying to get done? They might say, I want to lose weight. There's a perfect example. Well, what exactly do you want? I want to lose weight. Well, what do you want right now? I want to find a way to eat right, to exercise right, and to have a lifestyle that supports a healthy weight. Oh, now you're getting more specific. If you don't know exactly what you want, if you don't know exactly why you want it, then you're not going to take action because it becomes more complicated, it becomes more difficult. You have to know essentially what it is that you want. Now, if every time you reach for food, you had an eating plan, and you knew also every time you got up in the morning, you had a plan to move your body, get exercise, and burn calories, and create a more effective digestive system and digestive experience. If you knew that's what you wanted, you would go to the people who could give you that information. But if you simply say, I want to lose some weight, Well, most of the things that we lose in our life, we work really hard to find again. And that's what happens with most people who put off finding an eating plan and an exercise plan that serves them and serves their ideal weight and the ideal body type that they want. All right, let's move on to step 4. You need to know the steps, and then you need to know your first step. So again, suppose you want to let go of weight and you want to have a healthy lifestyle and you want to be the version of you that you really love. You want a healthy body. I'm just using this as an example, and you've been putting it off. Well, you need to know what the steps are. Chances are you've misfired and you've gone after certain exercise or weight loss programs. So finally, you're just going to put it off because of the pain, knowing that you've tried this and you've starved yourself and you've done exercise, but it just didn't work. Maybe you didn't know the steps. And when you don't know the steps, or more importantly, you don't know steps that are proven to work from someone who can show you how to do it, and they aren't around to show you what the first step is, and you're not clear on exactly how to take that step, even if you had it, you're going to put it off because it's painful to learn something new. And it's painful to have tried something that you took the time and energy to learn that didn't work. All right? Now let's move on to point 5. Always schedule and take the first step right away. Once you know it, once you learn it, the number of tasks and the steps needed to get your goal, to get your result done, it suddenly reveals that you actually don't have as much time to dawdle as you thought. So once you know all the steps, you know the number of steps and the tasks that have to get done to get your result, you'll recognize, wow, you don't have as much time as you thought. And this helps underline the risk and pain for failing. If you have a deadline for a school project or a deadline for a project at work and you think, wow, I've got 6 weeks to do it, and then you really think through all the steps and when those steps need to happen and who you need to talk to and what resources you need available, you're going to find out really quickly that this project you thought you could get done in a week is really going to take 4 or 5 weeks. You might have a 1-week buffer, but you need to get started. So thinking through the steps really lights a fire. And when you want to remove procrastination forever, you need to have a fire in your gut that says, I'm motivated. I know what my result is. I know the steps, and I've taken the first step. All right, point number 6. Stop and think your project through. Nothing is ever as complicated as you think if you just begin. Now, this is a little bit contrary to what I just said. You need to know the steps and think your project through because it could take longer than you think. But once you've thought something through, you don't have to have the fear of how am I going to do it, because you've now taken the steps to know what it is you need to do, and you can see, when you practice your vision of seeing your project all the way through, it suddenly doesn't seem all that complicated. It simplifies it because it's like you've been there. Your imagination has the power to take you into that situation, and mental and imagination practice, this psychological practice, this vision exercise continues to bring clarity to the experience you're about to have in that project, and it immediately starts to reduce the fear, and of course with fear comes pain. So your likelihood of procrastinating is now continuing to reduce. And we're only at step 6. We've got a few more steps here. All right, let's jump on to step 7. Listen to yourself talking. If you're talking about action and you're not taking it, then you're procrastinating. You need to be aware of procrastination. Become conscious of what you're doing. The only discussion you need is your quick and effective review of the steps with a mentor or a buddy or a coach who's going to help hold you accountable to taking those steps. So again, if you hear yourself talking about something you're going to do and you're not actively in the middle of taking those steps and those steps aren't on a schedule, you're procrastinating. So when you become aware that you're a talker and not a doer, either cross it off your to-do list and stop talking about it, or schedule it. You don't have a right to talk about it unless you're doing it. And while you're talking about it, you darn well better be moving from step to step towards that goal. Because if you're not, you're a talker, you're a poser. And I know no one on this call, especially you, are the kind of person who's going to allow yourself to be a talker and not a doer. All right, now we're going to move to step 8. Write it down. This could be one of the, if not the most important step. When you write something down, you make it real. You take something from your mind and you put it into the physical world. It becomes ink on paper. You give substance to idea. You give material to energy, to the electricity of a thought. You give ink and paper. Not only that, you can carry it with you. You can put it on a calendar. We're over 70% more likely to take action on a project when we write it down than if we just continue to spin and loop it in our mind. Make it real and write it down. Now let me tell you something about looping something in your mind. Think of anything that you've spun around in your mind. You had a thought, okay, we can go back to, I'm going to start a business. 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 You wake up tomorrow. I'm going to start a business. You tell everyone, I'm going to start a business. Now you're talking to an entrepreneur. I'm going to start a business. Did you ever say that? How long ago was it when you started saying it? Is there anything that you've been saying for more than several months, if not more than years, and you haven't taken action on it? Did you talk about doing a marathon? Did you talk about doing a road race? Did you talk about opening a business? Now, the more you loop it in your mind, the more your self-image suffers. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to open a business. And you don't do it. You don't do it. Those thoughts become, man, I was going to run a marathon, or someday I should run a marathon, or someday I should open a business, but I guess I just don't have what it takes. I don't have any follow-through. I haven't taken action. I'm not good at getting results. That's where procrastination becomes permanent. So if you want to eliminate it forever, recognize the pain of looping in your mind. It teaches you that you know how to fail. When you write it down and schedule it and take your first step, it teaches you how to succeed. And since you're a person who's taken action to be in this program to begin with, and I assure you, you weren't picked to be in this program. You weren't accepted into this investment to be in this program because you're a slacker. I know you're not the kind of person who just gets inspired and doesn't take action. Inspiration without action is entertainment. And you didn't sign up for this just for entertainment. And I'm not recording this for you just so you can hear my voice. I'm doing this to help you transform, to help you remove procrastination from your life forever. So write it down, get it out of your mind, get it into reality, and let's start getting some results together. All right, step 9. Use what I call the powerful recipe. That's RESP. All right? Use the powerful recipe. Just like anytime you want to cook brownies or you want to bake cookies, you want to make lasagna, there's that grandma's recipe that you have access to. Now, when you gain access to that recipe, you know if you put these ingredients together and you take certain steps, very specific steps that have been practiced by your grandmother or maybe by your mother over the years, that formula says when you take these steps and these materials and you bring them together, that you're going to get the result. This recipe that I'm talking to you about is really no different. As a matter of fact, it's exactly the same. Here's what you're going to do. The R is get clear on the result that you want. Get very, very clear specifically on the result that you want. Then what you want to do is eliminate any distractions around you as you focus on getting your result. Then what you want to do is sort your big project that you want to get the result on to top priority. You're not going to get a result on something that's third priority if the other two priorities are taking up all your time. The idea of priorities, by the way, was never plural. When the concept of priority was invented, it was singular. Priority meant pick one thing that you're going to focus on, and that is all you're going to focus on. Somewhere along the way in the world of industrial revolution and technology revolution, and then multitasking and all these other things that have come along, someone decided to add an S to it. When you sort priorities, you're going to use the S to remove the S. Let me say that again. When you sort this priority project to the top of the pile, and you're clear on your result, and you've eliminated any distractions, you're going to focus on your one priority. You're sorting it to the top, not priorities. All right, so let's go back to basics. And then the P equals pain. If you want to get your procrastination out of your life forever and get your ultimate result, whatever your big project is, you need to have pain, consequences for not following through. I'm going to give you 2 quick examples. One is promise your accountability buddy or your coach or anyone else that you're going to give them a certain sum of money if you don't hit your specific goal and take your next steps at a certain time. And you can have consequences for 10 steps, for 15 steps, for even taking the first step. That's even the most effective way, is you create a consequence. Say you got to pay your buddy $100 every day that goes by that you haven't gotten your first step done. Does that make sense? Think about how you'd feel if you had to stroke a check or hand over $100 to someone who's your accountability buddy. Or maybe you commit to your accountability buddy, you're going to make a contribution to a charity of your choice if you don't follow through. Now, giving money away is a good thing if you're going to make a contribution, but doing it because you failed, that doesn't feel good at all. I would rather you make a $5,000 contribution because you're kicking butt in your new business rather than that you're donating $100 at a time because you don't know how to follow through. That's a consequence. That's pain. Now, another one is make it public that you're going to hit this goal. Make it public, and now the fact that you may be humiliated by not following through becomes very apparent. It's going to become very obvious in the front of your mind, in the top of your mind. And put that information that you've told the world, that promise that you've made, on your mirror, in your car, in your bathroom, by your bed, in your notebooks, in your briefcase, in your world, so you don't forget. If you don't hit this goal, the whole world knows that you've committed to it. If you don't follow through, you've just lied to everybody, and that doesn't feel good either. So the recipe again, what's the result? What are you going to eliminate? Eliminate all the distractions, sort this project, this program that you're working on to your top priority, and create painful consequences for not following through at a specific time. And the 10th step, this is very important, and this is a homework item, this is an action item, just like every one of the other 9 steps. List your distractions and remove as many as you possibly can from your schedule and your day. It's the distractions that pull you away. How many times have you been working on a really important project and someone came and told you, hey, the server isn't working in the office, or one of the kids just skinned their knee, whatever it is, or can we just have a minute meeting, and next thing you know, you've been caught up for 2 hours. When you get distractions in your life, they pull you away from what's most important. So here's how you do it with discipline. Make a command to yourself and then honor it at risk of disappointing the powerful version of you. There's a version of you that will never procrastinate again. That will never procrastinate again. Decide that that's who you are. Those are the 10 steps to eradicating procrastination. Now here's a quick reminder. So now you've covered a lot about how your mind works and how to eradicate procrastination. I also gave you action steps that you can take now, that you must take now to make procrastination history. Here's your last step in the process. Go and do it. Decide. Evaluate that the pain of not following through, because let me tell you this, the pain of not following through is going to cost you. You've made an investment already in being in this program right now. And I intend to be one of your accountability buddies to make sure that you follow through. But let me tell you this, building a new business is about serving others. But you can't serve others and thrive successfully. You can't make new profit. You can't create a great lifestyle. You can't build homes or build businesses or flip real estate or make new investments or serve your family if you can't get your own house in order. So get your own house in order, make it happen right now, because this is your time. This is your time to step up. I'm Nate Lindquist. I'm really excited that you've gone through this program. Go through it again. Take more notes, but go take action. Hey everyone, this is Nate. I hope you really enjoyed this week's call. One thing that we're going to do with the format to make it as effective as possible is I'm going to ask that you take any questions that you have from the training call and just email me at nate@natelindquist.com, and I'm going to schedule a live Q&A call. So that way you've had a chance to implement what I've taught you. You've had a chance to watch it more than once, which is a great benefit to make sure that you've gone through it, really thought about how this particular training applies in your current situation, and then just write down your questions so I can respond to your questions on the group live Q&A call. Again, your ability to take action and follow through on what I'm sending you allows me to give you very specific feedback based on what you're dealing with right now. So let's have that time together. Go through the training. Again, write down your questions, email me, and then we'll schedule a live Q&A call to make sure that we answer those questions directly. All right, and this will be a great way to have our call be incredibly effective, even though sometimes the call time doesn't work for everybody. Whether I'm traveling or whether you're busy with other things, this is a great way for us to interact. So I'll watch for your emails. I hope you enjoyed the training, and I'll talk to you real soon.